in response to the evolving forces of customer expectations, regulatory requirements, technology, demographics, new competitors, and shifting economics. Much of the BFSI landscape has changed significantly. Staying the same is not an option, even as the BFSI industry is getting ready for the new innovative ideas and opportunities to deal with the disruptions caused by COVID-19 pandemic. As the sector continues to drive innovation, let's hear from Jaya Janardanan, CEO, IndoStar Capital Finance, on how BFSI leaders are looking for new ways to define their digital transformation strategy comprehensively, outgrow competition, and stay relevant. Welcome, Jaya, and big congratulations to you for receiving WICA Growth Champions Award 2021.
Thank you so much, Kalpana. Thank you.
So, Jaya, to begin up, we would like to know that you have vast experience in varied banks, including private sector banks, payments banks, small finance banks, and MNC banks, as well as in the NBFCs. So, what are the three things which excites you in the financial sector?
Uh, Thank you, Kalpana. I think it's a pleasure to be on your platform, and I think it's only experience sharing that helps all of us to grow in the space in which we are in. Um, so I became a banker by mistake. So that's number one. Okay, but after having become a banker by mistake, I think I've been enjoying my travel for the last 25 years in this space. And to come to your question straight, I think there are three things that excite me in the financial space. It's an ever evolving space, and there's always changes happening at the speed at which you can never even think of. Okay, so I started banking in 1996 when the 4 years, the world of Y2K was striking. So from a manual to becoming a Y2K compliance, so working on that space, to a huge space of technology to a digital transformation. So I've been kind of walking the space all these years and been part of the whole journey in the whole process. So ever evolving, ever changing. So that's something that's been exciting me. Second is, I think I, as a customer, I have some expectation. So the space of customer is very interesting. What does he want? How does he want? What will he think when you give it? So customer experience and customer requirements and customer excites me. So that's the other piece of it. So everything that you're doing is actually for the customer. If you are there because of the customer makes you do well, or the customer can make you go bad. So that's where it is. So customer and customer experience excites me a lot. And the last piece which excites me a lot is in the spaces is the current, every time there is a learning. Every time there is a change in compliance, there is a change in regulatory, there's a new thing that evolves. Okay, be it technology, be it risk, be it anything in the space of banking, it's always a learning space. It's never a dull moment. Okay, while I can call myself a boring banker, the space is very, very interesting, very innovative, very knowledge filled. And therefore, I think I've decided to stay in this space only because of these three reasons. And this has been the quite exciting space for me. And I think every organization that I've worked in the last few years, every time what I've ended up doing is I have always been part of the setups. So I've been responsible for setting up, operations in ICICI Bank. I've been responsible for setting up the payments bank, part of the core team that set up the payments bank, part of the team that set up the operational risk for Bank of America. So every journey of mine, every organization in the Lalaship Bank, I again set up the operations and the customer service piece. So every place it has been a set up. So setting up is like an entrepreneur, right? You actually are, it's an open space for you to start building it, the challenges. So that's something that I have been doing all these years. So you put me anywhere into a banking space and say, okay, start this, I can do that. So that's what has kept me going all these years.
Oh, absolutely. So, customer delight is your key focus all the years.
Yes.
All right. So while the stock markets are achieving record highs, the business sentiments across the industries are not catching up as fast. being associated with banking and non-banking organizations, what is your thought on this disconnect and what is the market feedback you're getting from the customers and borrowers?
See, it see the stock market sentiments are slightly you should not associate a customer behavior with the stock market behavior. Stock market sentiments are very different, right? There are a lot of things that go towards a stock's price rising or a stock share price decline, right? There is economy, there is inflation, there is the organization strategy, there is management, there is growth. So there are a lot of factors that go towards sentiments of the stock. Okay, but let's be honest about the fact that the last 1.5 year has seen a huge change in the stock market and obviously the customer behavior also in the market, right? The customer behavior, and today everybody just wants to kind of come out of this and start life all over again and say, things have to get back to the pre-COVID days. And now, if you look at the market has started picking up. Look at your e-commerce. Okay, look at the trend in the e-commerce industry. It's picking up. It's going up. People have started coming back to normalcy. Things have started opening up. People have started going to work. Your infra has started working back. So people have started wanting to kind of come back, right? So customer, there are two parts of the behavioral issue over here. One is customers who wants to get back to business, get back to their, get back to their normal lives as pre-COVID days. So business has started picking up. Okay, most of the organizations, if you speak to, you will start seeing the affordable housing has started working. The vehicle loan has started. People have started, going back to the bank. Yes, there are challenges. Non-payment has happened. Collection issues have happened. Business is not as high or is not going the speed at which you would have wanted. But having said that, let's also agree the fact that these have also been the effects of the pandemic, right? It takes its time to kind of stabilize. So therefore, we actually have started realizing that business is coming back. Business is picking up. Business is coming back to normalcy, right? So people are lending, people are borrowing. Okay. Yes, there is some bit of adjustments that all of us have to do as organizations of lending as well as for the customers in terms of how do we ensure that we give them the best of it? How do we ensure that we give them all that they require? So some of those adjustment changes are there, but yes, we are getting back to normalcy. Hopefully, third wave should not happen, and that's the prayer that all of us have. So.
What are the green shoots and sweet spots you see in the consumption and consumer demand in the economy? And what are the sentiments you see among MSMEs which are largely hit by the COVID-19 induced restrictions?
See, MSME has been a challenging space, has been an evolving space, and has been a growing space. Okay, so but they also obviously they have been really hit very badly with the pandemic. The dynamics of the businesses have changed. They have been largely affected. Workers have gone back, so they have been affected. So there's a lot of effect that has happened on the pandemic on the MSME. They have also for I'll tell you some of the challenges which have been there with the MSME. Working capital has been a challenge. There are complex regularities and compliance requirements. Digital acceptance has been a challenge. Okay, and obviously some of them are the initial credit borrowers where they have a challenge. So there is obviously the credit cost and the cost of funds has been a challenge. So there has been a lot of challenges for MSME, and the pandemic has only increased it further. But I think the government and the regulatories have done a great step in to help the economy to get revived. The infusion of 15,000 crore, the kind of money that has been pumped into the government for the revival of the sector has been a great benefit. The kind of definition defining as redefining MSME has been done by the government. So that has helped the MSME to kind of get the further benefit. 3 lakh crores of ECGS has been given by the government. So there have been so many benefits that has been pumped into the system for reviving the MSME segment. So therefore, the Atmanirbhar initiation by the government is the other benefit that the government has given. So the government, in a lot of ways, actually also have told the time the time demand liabilities that the banks have to keep has been told that they need to kind of net off the lending that they have done to the MSME. So this all helps the banks to reduce the cost, lend, NBFCs to lend. So therefore, all efforts are being given to actually help them step in and help NBFCs and banks to lend them. So redefining has helped a lot. We have enabled the customers to the loan accounts to be restructured, right, based on the businesses that they have in the kind of restructuring that have enabled the as per the government guidelines given by RBI. So with all the pandemic around, with all the challenges that we have had around, the some of the sweet spots that we see in this space is that the government's ability and the government's efforts to step in, okay, and push the MSME segments to kind of come up further. Digital, see, the one of the space that they actually see the lot of cost is involved in the physical management of processes, right? There's a lot of effort which is being taken to to get them to become digital. Digital literacy is becoming a big space for the MSME. Get them to start using digital. Let them, because in the processing the management cost becomes it reduces largely. So that's the space at which the government and every other efforts is being. So if you look at a lot of fintechs are coming forth to help the MSME in the space in which they are in various spaces. So those are some of the efforts which is being done to revive the MSME economy. And that's next to agriculture, MSME is a big segment. It's a 48% of your exports are done by MSME. If you don't revive the economy, you have a challenge in the in the Indian industry, in the Indian economy. So it's very critical for us to revive the economy in all its ways. So banks, NBFCs, and the other supporting factors are coming forth to say that okay, fine, let's get these people to step them up to help them. So hopefully, all these efforts put together should bring up the economy of the MSME industries.
Sure, sure. And as you rightly said, digital literacy is very important part of it when it comes to MSMEs, which wherein I think India is lacking. Sure. So please talk about your achievements and milestones for your corporate lending, home finance, SME finance, and vehicle finance business. How has COVID-19 impacted your business, and how are you coming out of this impact?
I strongly believe that whatever you do in the digital space, there are two parts to it. One is your customers, and second is your employees. Both need to be aligned. It cannot be a decision taken in the boardroom to digitize something and then it kind of falls between the cracks. So, as an organization, first and foremost, on the employee front, all of us have been very, very, what do you say, very glued, or we got easily into the work from home. The technology was built in such a way that all of us, okay, from last April onwards, were work from home. Technology supported in a big way. All to tell you to tell you the truth of the factor is, I joined IndoStar in August 2020, and my interview, my onboarding process, everything was digital. I saw the entire management team physically only in the month of November. So
Wow.
I started working from in IndoStar Digital. So that's how IndoStar as an organization has adapted to digital. What I would like to share as an organization of IndoStar is we embarked on the digital. So we realized that digital is going to be happening. You need to be in that space. You have to be digital if you need to scale, if you need to bring in volumes, if you need to be a market leader, you need to be digital. So we actually, engaged a partner, KPMG, to actually help us, build a digital transformation of the organization. And Kalpana, you won't believe it, we onboarded them digitally. Till December, the whole project was being run digital. Even when we started in I think from December to February, we were physical in the office. Again, the second wave started, and we kind of went back to work from home. So the whole project of the digital transformation of bringing in a lending platform was done digitally. And today we go live in October, and I'll tell you, out of the 7 months, 5 months we worked digital with a partner. So identifying a partner, getting them onboarded, getting the team to work on the project, your function specific, everything, the steercom, the core committee, everything was digital. So that's the leap that we have taken as an organization. Okay, so as an organization, I can proudly say that the digital transformations have happened digitally. So that's the way I can actually quote it. Having said that, so that's one part. But we also, as a lending company, we also very truly know that our customers are not that digital. Like, for example, we lend in the commercial space, right? Commercial vehicle space. Our customers are not digital savvy. So pushing an app to a customer is of no use. You will not have them using the app, right? Because these are all physical connects to the customer. You need to meet the customer. You need to know them. You need to know them whether they need a vehicle, whether they, are they doing a business in vehicle, and all those kind of stuff. So what we did was we actually are building, we're going live with it, are building a retail assisted model app, which means our employees who are approaching the customer have an app which will help you to kind of, transition from the, from a lead to a, completely the whole process of onboarding them, their credit evaluation, giving them the money, all that happens digitally. So the interface with the customer is physical, but the entire process of onboarding them is digital. So that's one space in the lending space, and this is happening both in the vehicle as well as in the affordable housing space. We are kind of building this app. We already have a lending app, lending to a solution. So we already have a backend which is quite well developed. But I strongly believe that if you want to actually get the benefit of digital, you need to have everything linked to a process to be digital. It cannot be half digital and half physical. It doesn't work that way. So I strongly believe processes which are manual, voluminous, okay, and which are repetitive should be moved out. You cannot have an army of people sitting and doing that. And so that is how I then decided that we should bring in the robotic process automation. So we have built the robotic process automation, the organization, which actually caters to this kind of an activity. So if you actually look at, for example, let me give an example. My entire, there's something called as a civil processing. There's something called as CKYC. The whole piece is done by a robotic process automation. There's no manual activity at all. There's only a single person who sits and actually just checks whether any exception is to be managed. Otherwise, it used to be handled by a team of 4 or 5 people who used to spend 8 hours in a day simply scanning and doing all those kind of activity. This is done completely by a robot. I have also, what we have done is also that we have, the call center. Okay, so you'll be surprised, my call center is just 4-member team. Reason is, my entire welcome calling, my entire EMI calling, my entire bounce calling are all bot enabled. So I don't have an army of call center agents sitting and calling up. It is only done by the bot calling. The 4-member team is only to manage escalation complaints, where customers are, writing to you in a big way. The other piece that we have completely built an ecosystem is for the collection. So today, the only piece of collection process that we used to have earlier was cash collection. Today, if an EMI bounces, the customer gets an SMS with a link. He can just click the link and make the payments. We started with 20%, and today, when we speak to you, we are at 50% collection through the app. Okay, so you can pay my EMI through any of the apps. So payment gateway we have built in the entire process. We've also enabled the Bharat Bill payment services. So my customer can go to any of the Bharat Bill payment service like a post office and pay cash. Doesn't have to come to the branch, but his EMI will get credited. So at every point in the process has to be identified, and what can need not be managed manually is converted into a digital flow, or as they call it, as an automated flow. So that is how, as an organization, we are changing the landscape of the work we do. So we want people to be more, to manage exception. We want them to be managing, critical pieces rather than managing mass. I truly believe we have to have people to make sure that we are checking and ensuring that there's no errors happening. We are more compliant. We are more, people are used effectively rather than just to do mass processing. Mass processing is only going to cost you cost. It's going to higher resources, high cost. If you do digital, my cost will become zero within about 3 to 4 months. I'll get zero cost processing. So, the customer is also enabled. So, I'm not pushing the customer. So, if you look at the data points of a customer in the market, industry, a customer actually uses his app, right, for many things. He's a YouTube. Serves the YouTube. He uses Paytm. People have started realizing this. So, which is why we realize that if we build our collection in that mod, if to get people, then you will have people using that app. So I have not pushed my app to the customer. I've only enabled the apps that he is using to enable him to pay me as a collection process. I've enabled my ground team to make sure that they don't have to carry papers and loose papers and transfer and all that stuff. I made him enabled with a digital flow. So, and in the operations, I said the only way I can bring down cost. See, cost per transaction is very critical for us to increase our revenue. I can't keep on building manpower and resources to manage mass. So the only way to bring down cost is to automate. So go and see processes which are falling into these categories and automate them. And that's how I kind of worked it out. So every piece is being, I can, when I'm talking to you, I can say I'm only 40%. I have a still 60% work to be done, but I know what I need to do. So I know that by end of, by this financial year end, I will reach a stage of at least a 90% of a truly digital NBFCs of IndoStar.
That's quite amazing, and I'm so excited to know the technologies you're talking about to streamline the processes, and considering that what apps already customers are using and enhancing their experience by adding on to the apps they are already using and not pushing them to use your apps. So that's so. Jaya, tell me, I mean, these all digital initiatives has been taken during, I mean, especially when you talk about RPA and putting the other applications during the COVID period, or it started way back?
No, it's all in this period from 2020, the journey started to as we speak now. So I mean, to be honest with you, we have a great team. The tech team is great. They're doing, and the other piece I forgot to add is the whole processes. We are actually moving our entire infrastructure to cloud. We're building a cloud infrastructure. So that's the other big change that we're getting in to get the benefit of cost. So actually, cloud helps you to get the benefit of high intensity processing, but low cost in terms of transaction. So all these initiatives has been part of the strategy that we built in the 2021 during the pandemic for a 5-year period. So Sridhar has led this entire strategy. Our CEO has led this entire strategy, and for the next 5 years, and as part of the growing team of IndoStar.
Okay, that's nice. And what partners do you have, for executing these things in the, I mean, the processes in place?
So for the vehicle lending, we have partnered with a company called Infrasoft from Pune. They're building our lending platform. For our affordable housing, we have a partner called Decimal Technologies, who's building the onboarding platform for us. For robotic process, we have partnered with an organization called Novigo Solutions from Kerala. They have been being with us in terms of our thing, and obviously our LMS and our old, so they kind of have been in the system for a very long time. But just to add to this, while both Decimal as well as with Infrasoft is going to be our lending onboarding solution, the backend we have tied up with a lot of fintech partners. So many of the partners are at the backend trying to kind of integrate through the APIs for us. So that's the other piece.
Oh, that's awesome. So, what are your parameters, the criteria basically, while onboarding these partners?
So, Kalpana, we are Brookfield. Brookfield, is our PI, is one of the investors and shareholders of IndoStar. So we're governed largely by the global guidelines of vendor management. So we have a vendor evaluation process in place with the various parameters in terms of how their financials, their experience, the people, reference checks. There's a lot of parameters which you define, and based on which there is a proper scoring pattern which is built in, shared with the management committee, shared with the board, and then there's a decision taken. Obviously, before that, there's a lot of negotiation that is done with the vendor in terms of what you want, how it is, and what is to be done. And then it is put before the board, and then post that, which is when the decision is taken, stating that there's a partner that we would like to go with. And obviously, there are a lot of terms and conditions that get agreed upon. And then you decide on the, you partner with. So it's a completely, so one is you're governed by the RBA's vendor outsourcing policy. You're also governed by the global outsourcing policy given to us by the Brookfield Global organization. So we actually have both of it, and then we kind of evaluate a vendor, and we kind of onboard a vendor.
Okay, okay. So, how has COVID-19 changed the outlook of business leaders toward technology and building customer experience with digital transformation?
See, the way I look at it is, if you are not, or if you don't change, or if you don't bring in technology, you cease to exist. So you can't ignore it. You just can't ignore the digital space. Okay. The other piece is that, what do you want to do digital? Okay, it's a myth when people keep saying that we would like to do digital, we would like to do digital. The question to ask is that, what does your customer want? Is your customer in the digital space? Will your customer accept digital? Will your employees, because it's not very easy to go digital when you don't have these factors supporting you, right? You have to make sure that your processes are aligned to customer requirements, customer experience, customer customer wants. So therefore, now if you look at most of them, where initially there was okay, we will do technology, we will do digital, but today there is a lot of focus given to what will you do digital, how do you want to do digital, where do you want to do digital. So there's a lot of attention being given that space. And therefore, you will not find leaders just talking about digital. You will find action happening in the digital space. And each of them, and most of the time I've seen when you talk to vendors, when they come for demos, none of the solutions are plug and play. A lot of customization go into it. And why do customization go? Because that's where your market is, that's where your customer asks is, that's how your customer wants it. And therefore, you will customize it the way your customer wants it. You cannot survive if you don't go digital, because digital truly brings down the cost of transaction. And this is something that I think I learned way back in 2000 when I was in ICICI Bank, and Mr. KV Kamath was the CEO at that point of time, and he made a mention saying that it is only and only if you become technology driven will you be able to serve your customers effectively. And if you see, ICICI Bank, one of the leaders of those times, where who brought in internet banking, ATMs, which all came in those times, and people didn't even think those things actually would come in, right? Adding a beneficiary in 30 minutes time was an innovation by ICICI Bank, right? So today if you don't have, you feel, oh God, it's not there. How can hygiene? And those days I know when we implemented it, we found it so difficult to explain to customers that what it is all about. So if you truly believe that you want to be digital, then you need to actually look at what is the outcome you're looking at digital. Then only you should step into it. Because everybody, don't follow a bandwagon, don't follow a crowd because somebody is doing digital. It has to be there. It has to be there. It will be there. And if you don't do it, you cease to exist. But we have to be very careful. What do you want? That's very critical.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. So, accelerated digital transformation and fast-changing business environments have been playing an important role in reshaping the BFSI sector in India. So, with the changing customer expectations, how are the business leaders promoting innovation and tech adoption inside the organization?
See, people like people like me who have been given the mandate to bring in the digital transformation. I think I think one of the critical questions that we all need to ask is when we do a change. Okay, now don't let's not talk about digital. Let's talk about general change in an organization. Is what is in it for me? Okay, anybody will take something only when people say that what is in it for me. So the way you actually communicate to your employees, right, about how the moment you talk digital, people think I lose my job. I think that is the crux of the issue, right? People think that you make digital, oh, I become redundant. No, it's not like that. The only warning I want to give to everybody is that, when I say warning, I'm talking about largely in the organization, is you need to skill, you need to upskill, you need to be there where the organization wants you, right? So digital does not take away a job. Digital only enhances the way you actually do business. You interact with the customers, you give what the customer wants. And if you are part of the growing process, if you're part of the change, then you will obviously find yourself upskilling and meeting to the demand, right? So that's where you have to give. So typically, your challenge with the employees will come when you try to do digital, but you don't explain to them what digital is in it for them, right? So that's where and this is something that I realized long back when we were talking about digital in Dalnoshi Bank, and suddenly there was this uproar in the organization saying that, oh God, we will lose our jobs. And that's when we changed the strategy. We changed the complete strategy saying that no, it's not about losing jobs, it is about giving customers what they want, at the same time bringing you up the level to be able to serve them. That is a bridge you have to, that is a gap you need to bridge. So therefore, and now this, if you really look at organizations, if you're not able to match the thought process and the employees what they want, you will find it falling drastically. So many of them now have realized it, and many of them know that unless you digitize, unless you become automated, unless you bring in technology, unless you are in line with what the market is asking for, you will not succeed. And therefore, many of them are now changing the way they're presenting it to the employees. So I think you will find a lot of people now very confidently walking into that space, very well knowing that yes, we need to do it. These are our challenges, and this is how we will get it. So you will find leaders now changing the way they're thinking the whole process, because these are all evolving processes, right? So it's all gone on the days of while product competition and business competition remains. I think forums bring in a lot of exchange of ideas, thoughts, and people take what others do and good for them. So they kind of try to imbibe. So things are changing the way leaders are looking at the whole process.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to deal with the job insecurity of the employees, it's really important to educate them, upskill them, and make them understand that how
Yeah.
technology will help them. So, yeah, correct. So, new banking firms are now leveraging their aggressive customer experience positioning through intense use of new age technologies like AI, analytics, blockchain, besides cloud computing. So, how do you think traditional banks as well as NBFCs are coping up with them?
See, the way I look at, of course, neobanks are a concept where where customers who want to be completely digital can use it, right? So, if, for example, you have the 811 of Kotak Bank, right? You have the DigiBank of DBS. These are all neobanks, part of the thing. Some businesses are manageable. Some businesses are not. Example, if you look at the business in which we as IndoStar are in, you cannot be a new bank. It's a need you have to, four people will approach him. He is not a tech savvy guy. So it's all based on what is your customer, who's your customer. The millennials will actually go to a neo bank. There's no doubt about it, right? Because for me, ask me, I would love to sit in that home and open an app and do the banking. I hate going to the banks while I'm from a bank, right? And I remember clearly in one of the seminars I had spoken about digital, partly physical, partly digital. Okay, but ask me, I would love to sit at home and do my transaction. I hate going to the banks while I'm a banker. Okay, But some businesses are not phygital, and some businesses are physical, and some businesses are digital. So therefore, it's all depends upon the space in which you want to go in. So therefore, neo banking is in a space where they have customers, they people will want and do 100% digital, perfectly okay. Traditional bank have their own way of management of the large scale projects, the corporate banking, which will be always a mix of physical and digital. And then you will have a largely agri business, which will have people going to the branch, or you will have like a microfinance companies or banks, which will go to the customers and do a physical conversation, onboard them, and bring them, and it's a physical process. Now, as far as the you're talking about analytics and all that, so that's not something which is just with the neo banks. People like us, NBFCs, large NBFCs, large banks have started using the analytics tools, because I'll give you a simple example. Your credit scoring, unless until you bring in an analytic tool, you will not be able to get a good credit scoring. You need to understand a customer behavior. Sometimes some of these are first to credits people. How do you access them? So therefore, you have to have an analytic tool. And let me tell you, we should not actually think that the old age banks or the traditional banks are not into it. Most of these banks have started, and for example, if you look at the Bank of Baroda, they have embarked on a huge automation of a digital lending platform. It's a huge piece. They're looking at a complete digital platform for themselves, right? So therefore, analytics is very critical if you are into multi products and you want to understand how the customer behavior pattern is all about. So therefore, I don't see that they have a higher advantage of it. They have a higher advantage of a low cost because they're completely digital. The other organizations do have their advantage of, do have the challenges, but I think most of them are getting into the analytics piece in a big way. So it's not just about the neobanks.
Last but not the least, Jaya, please talk about your top focus areas over the next 2 to 5 years.
See, our focus in the next 5 years is obviously scale business, and the new management, the new team has come in. There's a lot of focus on the ground level to build business. Our two focus businesses is one is the commercial vehicle, and second is the lending, the affordable housing, and we have the SME segment also. Now, our focus, while the aim is to build business and to bring in good quality accounts, low keep the NPA to the negligible, and to ensure there's a high level of efficiency in collections. But the focus is one is to make it a digital NPFC. So that's where, so while we truly believe that our customers are physical and we will need to approach them in the physical mode, we actually are transforming the whole, the organizations in the way we look at the whole process. Be it an onboarding of a customer, be it an onboarding of an employee, be it the payment, be it the disbursement, be it the reconciliation process, everything. So there is a complete digital transformation that we are envisaging in the organization. And according to me, we won't stop with just putting XYZ systems in the place. It's an evolving organization. It's an evolving process, and therefore it will keep changing depending on how the next level of technology evolves. For example, if I do if I have a onboarding solution, right? Today I have 4 journeys, so I will build the 4 journeys. Tomorrow the business will come back and say, I need to have some more other journeys. I mean, we are into co-origination with a partner bank. We would like the whole flow to be very, very digital. We don't want the right from the time the customer steps into my system till it gets onboarded in the partner bank's system. And back, I want the whole flow to be digital. So that every space we are planning to kind of move and as far as possible seamlessly transit. So it's a change, it's an evolving change, it will keep changing. So we have to kind of keep updating ourselves to the latest technology that we have. Focus is obviously these 3 businesses which are there, and we don't intend to move into any other business at this point of time. This is our focus, and we obviously have our targets to be the we have given ourselves in the 5 years from now that we will become. And obviously, the objective is also to build in revenue, low cost, high scale transformation in the organization. So this is where we are. We have strategized ourselves for the next 5 years. So, in all these processes, if you build in efficiency in collection, your NPA will be at the lower cost. You are an organization that will give you value. As an organization, we will give value to our shareholders.
Yeah. So that is an interesting chat. While economy will definitely meet the expectations with government initiatives and support, BFSI is going to play a large role in boosting this growth. And you rightly said that the technology has become indispensable to drive customer experience as well as to meet newer demands and challenges. Thank you, Jaya. It was complete pleasure interacting with you, and we appreciate your time.
My pleasure, Kalpana. Thank you so much.
For more updates from CXO TV, please like and subscribe to our channel.